All right, so we're getting ready to drop some fire in here. What time is it? It's probably 12:30, I would think. It's about 12. So we've been working on these fire breaks all morning. We had a good rain Monday. Today is Thursday, so we're about 3 days post-rain. Still some moisture in this stand, which actually we won't. There is quite a bit of slash in here. They did a thinning cut in this loblolly pine. I'd say these pines are probably 25, maybe 30 years old, at least 20 plus. And they did a thinning cut in here, and they cut some of this hardwood regeneration that's in here, but not a ton of it. There's still plenty of it in here standing, but there's some on the ground. So we're gonna have a little bit of intense fire in places. So we wanted a little bit of moisture in kind of our burn material, to where we don't have super hot fire. We also wanted a semi-cool day. It's gonna be low 60s today. So we're kind of running out of time to have a low intensity fire in here, because spring's coming on, it's getting warmer. So it should be a perfect day for it. We got pretty good humidity in the 40s. So we should be okay in here to get a good kind of cool, but also a progressive burn. It should bite some of these small sweet gums, but it's gonna really remove a lot of this debris and many years of pine needles. Fire, to my knowledge, has never been introduced to this stand, so it'll be the first introduction here. So we're looking for a duff, if you will, or understory reduction fire that's gonna really open up that ground. There's new sunlight coming in here, so we're gonna remove that pine needle layer, move that leaf layer. This sunlight that's been brought in from the thinning cut is gonna be able to hit the ground, and we'll get a lot of new growth. At the same time, we're gonna kill a lot of this small regenerating hardwood. But our landowner does know likely we're going to come in here and do a TSI cut after that once we see what's greening up, because some of this stuff is big. But that's what we're looking for. But we're back here. We got a really light wind today. We're going to let this wind lightly push this fire into our break, and hopefully get a good result. And we're going to look to burn about 60 acres a day. So stick with us, and we'll get it done. Good. That's really honestly what we want to do. Does that, and it ain't really gonna challenge these brakes. We'll go ahead and really start lighting a big sun up. Damn sure is this mess up in there, homie. Can you pull it up on your phone where we took pictures of that guy? Or do I have them? I got them. Go and pull it up, you good? All right, so we're burning this. Another little block in here. I don't know, it's got to be 12, 15 acres, something like that. We'll measure. But Alex, we had a really cool thing happen this year. We were meeting this landowner and looking at this farm. We're doing some frost seed, planning for this burn and everything else. And Alex went out in the field here while I was talking to the landowner and found a side of this same buck from last year, correct? So not 2025 fall, but 2024 fall. Well, come to find out, Alex comes walking up. The landowner says, I know that deer, and I found both sets. Didn't he have both sides? Mm-hmm. He had found both sides about a week before. So he had his current set. Well, Alex goes back in the fields picking up rocks. Me and the landowner's talking. Here comes Alex walking with the other side from 2024. So we had a match set from the deer from 2024. The landowner found a match set from 2025. So had 4 antlers total. We were just walking here lighting this, and that is the deer shed from 2023. And you got them pulled up here? Show the camera. So this is them on camera, just on Alex's phone. So it's just a real basic 10-pointer. And that's him when he was 3. So we have 3 years of these deer's antlers. Now, hopefully we're gonna walk in here and find the other side. But we got 2 sets and a single. So that's what happens when you get out in the woods, you get to burning, you get to working, frost seeding, TSI, doing all stuff. This is number 63.
Yep.
And then you're what, 3 today?
I found 2 today.
You found 2, I found 1. That's 3 today on this burn. Today's not even over. We burned about half of it, and we've already found 3. So this is just, the deer's reward, the good Lord's reward for us doing all this hard work. They let us have these antlers. They leave more we can find. So anyway, we're gonna keep burning while the sun's shining. Stick with it. All right, we're finishing up our burn today. We burned 3 units in here. We kind of broke it up And I imagine we're probably around 60 or 70 acres. We hadn't measured it yet of what we burned, but we basically burned this whole farm in this first trip here since this pre-commercial thinning. So you can see these trees behind me. They're again probably a 25 to 30 year old pine, I would guess in here. See, we got some scorching all the way up, but these pines have really thick bark, and this thick bark insulates these pines from heat. The cambium layer is when you cut into the tree and you get that light colored, you know, kind of inside pulp there. And this thick bark insulates that cambium layer and does not allow that cambium layer to get heated up. That would have killed the tree. If you heat that cambium layer up, that inside layer, to a certain degree, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but if you get it nice and hot, it actually will kill this tree. Pine trees are developed and basically evolved over time, or made by the good Lord. They have thick bark, so they can survive this fire. So this is often why we plant these trees back when we've done a cut for wildlife, because we want to be able to use prescribed fire to be able to control succession, reset old growth and make new growth again, and kill a lot of these little hardwoods that will be shading the ground out. And what you'll have, kind of see behind me, they piled some of this up. They ended up chipping a lot of this track, but some of it they left. But if you can see back in here, you have some little hardwoods that are still standing. A lot of those will be killed. You know, trees, and Colin will buzz you around like right here. You know, trees this size here will often be killed. Trees back here will often be killed. We had a little bit more of a fuel load in this little area, so we got some pretty good flame height, as you can see on that pine, and a good hot fire. And we burned it later in the day, which helped, but it'll kill those trees. But really in this stand, being that we knew we had a pretty good fuel load, had a lot of medium fuel, which would be these bigger medium to coarse fuel, which medium would be stuff like this on the ground. The coarse fuel would be these, you know, medium-sized hardwood to some of these bigger hardwood and pine slash. So we really wanted a cool fire in here. We did not want a super hot fire, because we did not want to damage these big trees, you know. So we got a nice cool fire today. Like I said, there was some moisture in our fine fuel. We had a good rain 3 days ago, and we had a medium, you know, kind of humidity in here. So we knew we were going to get more of a cool style fire, and that's exactly what we wanted. So we've opened the canopy up, which the sun's setting here, so it doesn't look like as much sun in here. But Cole, if you want to point that camera up, see that nice big hole in that blue sky? Now that we have burned this fine fuel up, we've exposed dirt in here, you're going to get all kind of good growth, like this dog fennel, which isn't much of a wildlife plant, but it is an excellent cover plant. We're going to get ragweed in here, all kind of native grasses, you know, pokeweed probably, maybe get some asters in here. There's going to be all kind of good growth in this stand that's going to be cover. Ultimately deer food, ultimately brooding habitat, because these turkeys are going to be able to move around in here really easy, these baby turkeys, which is definitely limiting in our area. And then in some of these spots, we're going to have really good nesting habitat too, because this has got a solid month before turkeys should really be on the nest. So it's going to green up, and there's still enough woody cover in here for those turkeys to find nesting spots. And then also all around this block on our neighbors is unburned. It has tons of cover in it. There'll be good nesting habitat for turkeys. And there was a few places on our farm here that we did not burn, just because there was a little oddball areas, and we did want to leave a little bit of cover. So we've got a really great burn here. It was a really good time to introduce that first fire into this stand with a nice cool fire, reduce some of this fuel load. Likely we'll not be in here for a solid 2 years, maybe 3, depending on conditions. But by that time, a lot of this big fuel will be rotted down some and will be easier to consume with a low intensity fire. And that will be our goal moving forward. So you kind of see what we got going back here. We know the reason we were burning here, and that's important. You would not believe the people, or maybe you would, that do not know why they're burning. And so the reason we are burning here is we have sunlight from our thinning. We're removing this duff layer to promote new growth. We're killing young, small saplings and the hardwood variety. We're reducing the fuel load for future burns in this stand. And then, you know, like I said, we really want to make sure this stays thin for that brooding habitat and regenerate new growth for feeding and fawning and all that good cover. Also, in some of these areas, there's going to be hardwoods here that did not get killed. That is an excellent opportunity to come back and do some timber stand improvement. Maybe fell some of those trees to create mineral stumps. Maybe you hinge cut some of them where you want deer to bed. But there's going to be excellent opportunity in a lot of this stand to come back and do this TSI after the burn. It's going to be easy to move through here, easy to fell that stuff, continue to add sunlight to the ground, and create that horizontal cover right where we want it. 4 sheds today. We're up to number 64. Beautiful little young 2-year-old. I think that one's been on the ground 2 years. Little year-old cow horn. They're always fun to find when they're small. That was a nice 3-year-old. I think that's been on the ground 2 years. The deer that we think we know. And a beautiful 2-year-old. Look at that just gorgeous 2-year-old. So anyway, pretty cool. Stick with us. Get out there and burn if you can. Plant your wildlife trees. You know, get your plans together for what you're gonna plant for food plots, dig water holes. There's so much to do right now, and then we'll be turkey hunting for too long. Thank you.